this is coming from Screen Rant. This is by Andy Beckbach. Okay, again, apologies. I can't pronounce some of these names.
Good old Screen Rant.
Apologies.
My old friend.
All right, so basically here, I thought this interesting. This is from 4 days ago, but I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to talk about it because I feel like this plays into a larger narrative of what's actually happening with the Black Adam movie, because The Rock has been promoting the Black Adam movie. And of course, it was announced Remington Steele is going to be basically, Dr. Fate. And so there's a lot of interesting things happening with the Black Adam movie. And I saw this and I was like, well, this is crazy. It says the CW almost beat Warner Brothers to their next big superhero movie. And this says, while Warner Brothers Pictures is developing an Hourman feature film, let that sink in. The Justice Society of America hero almost had his own series on the CW. And then this is the important part I wanted to bring up for tonight. Warner Brothers is bringing the DC Comics hero Hourman to the big screen, but the CW almost had a series for the Justice Society hero. The DC TV landscape has come a long way since Arrow premiered in 2012 and would mark the beginning of the Arrowverse. The same can be said for the DCEU, or DC Films, after Man of Steel kicked off Warner Brothers' first shared cinematic universe for their DC properties. While both Warner Brothers divisions have changed their gameplay over the last few years, it's becoming more normal for the studio to use a character in both TV and film at the same time. Warner Brothers is currently in the early stages of developing an Hourman feature film with Gavin James and Neil Widener, again, apologies pronouncing it correctly, Widener, painting the screenplay. It's unknown if Rex Tyler or his son Rick Tyler will be the Hourman that the DC film project focuses on. It's also unclear if this will have any connections to the Justice Society that Black Adam is introducing into the DCEU with Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher. While Hourman is one of the smaller IPs that Warner Brothers owns in the DC universe, this wouldn't be the first time the Justice Society of America member was being eyed to have his own solo project. So, go back up here to the fun little graphic they've got here of potential Hourman here. I just thought this was interesting. Hourman is kind of a cool character. There's been some interesting things done with him. For those people who don't know, the original version of Hourman was a pharmacist who created a pill, essentially. It was essentially a steroid, if you will. And when he took this pill, it gave him superhuman powers, like super strength and agility and all this other stuff, enhanced reflexes, but only for 1 hour. That was kind of his shtick. So it was only good for 1 hour. And then typically he had some kind of a timekeeping device, which was often depicted by the hourglass around his neck. And so once he took the pill, he would activate the timekeeping device, so he knew that he had basically an hour before his powers would run out. I think the most tragic version of this character is actually in a really great graphic novel published many years ago called The Golden Age. And in The Golden Age, this character has basically become addicted and is basically sort of like a drug addict. It's a really interesting, weird, twisted kind of take on the character, but a really good series. I really like The Golden Age. I always recommend it to people. It's very interesting. But anyhow, I just thought this was kind of unusual because we've heard so much stuff coming out of the Black Adam movie. And I was like, well, this is really strange. They're developing an Hourman film. And then the idea that they're even hinting at in this article that there wouldn't be any connection between this and the Justice Society and the Black Adam movie, I find absolutely laughable. The only reason to develop an Hourman feature film is to basically have it tie into the Black Adam movie somehow, at least in my mind. What do you think, Eric?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, actually, and I'm trying to organize them. First of all, I have a lot of issues with Screen Rant. I think they do get some decent information and put it out there, but they put such crazy spins on these things that they really become almost like clickbait. Just take the title, CW almost beat Warner Brothers to their newest big superhero movie. Flash, anybody? No? Does nothing for you? One of the biggest shows on the CW. Yeah, they've had a Flash series for multiple seasons already, and we're
Right.
having a Flash movie. That's not news. That's not
Right.
news. And it's, you know what I mean? That's just not news. And then this idea, like you said, that they're not going to tie this into the JSA. I was talking to Dave off the air that I had just seen an article. I think it was on comicbook.com. Don't quote me. I don't have the article to bring up. But it was bringing up a very interesting editorial about how Black Adam could be the key to sort of going beyond the Snyderverse, because the Snyderverse is kind of like so so trendy at the moment with people like restore the Snyderverse, which we really know is not going to happen, at least not in the near future, not under the current regime. And the point of the article really was that Black Adam, in basically introducing the Justice Society of America, can totally, basically provide a new direction for the DC universe. And then I do want to point out one other thing, which is that this article says Man of Steel started the shared DC universe. That's complete bullshit. I've mentioned multiple times that at the time it came out, they specifically said that wasn't going to tie into any other movies. They were going to do all the characters individually. It was only later when they decided to do Batman versus Superman that Man of Steel became part of this, quote, Snyderverse, shared DCEU universe, whatever. That was a later thing. At the time they made Man of Steel, it was not meant to tie into anything. It was simply meant to reboot Superman as his own film franchise. So again, Screen Rant, you do some really weird things with your articles, but hey, you're successful, so I guess keep doing them. But the JSA thing is the biggest thing I get out of this. And also, again, with that thought that came from that article that I read before, with this idea of Black Adam. And also, you have to realize Shazam, of course, ties into that, because obviously Shazam and Black Adam are definitely going to be in the same universe. There is a little bit of question about how much Shazam was part of the, quote, DCEU, how much Black Adam will be. But Shazam and Black Adam will definitely be together, because the idea is that by the time we get to like Shazam 3, this is the plan, of course, it's going to be Black Adam versus Shazam, right? Or Captain Marvel, as he should be referred to. So I think that's interesting. I think that's a good idea, because I mentioned this to Dave off the air. This is the possibility of DC films actually doing it right, actually establishing all of their characters individually first, the same way that the MCU did, and then having a big, JSA moment where they all come together, as opposed to the Snyderverse, which was completely rushed and basically is very controversial. I think a lot of people that are big Snyder Cut fans or Snyder Cut advocates forget that, how divisive and controversial those takes on the characters were. But ultimately, they were so rushed. Nothing was developed, So I think now DC has an opportunity where they could develop all these characters individually. Shazam has had his own movie. Black Adam gets his movie, which maybe a lot of people I'm hearing is going to introduce like Hawkman, that kind of a thing. So then maybe we get Hourman in his own movie, and maybe that can also introduce some other character, like say the classic Sandman or something like that. It could also be tagging along. You could do all sorts of different things. And you kind of introduce these characters in these different movies, and then you have the big event JSA movie. And the funny thing would be is that the JSA ends up becoming the big thing to actually compete with the Avengers, when Justice League just didn't do that.
That would be really strange if at the end of the day, that, because they talk about how everything's cyclical, you know what I mean? Like everything moves in a circle. And it'd be so weird if they actually pull this off, and if the JSA turns out to be the thing, the DC universe, because the JSA beget the JLA, and then the JLA begets the passes the torch back to the JSA. That would be absolutely one of the most insane things I have ever seen. Because in a weird way, it would almost kind of echo what they've done with the Marvel Universe. The Marvel Universe started off, with Iron Man. Iron Man's a great character, but Iron Man is not the household name that Spider-Man is. Iron Man is not
I've said it many times. For many people, including myself, Iron Man, before the movie came out, was considered a cheap ripoff of Batman. There's lots of people that felt that way.
Yeah.